Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today is 87.2 degrees, with a low dipping to 60.7, so expect a pleasant fall day with some warmth lingering. Coming up, we'll examine how Maricopa County's approach to immigration enforcement turned into a blueprint for widespread abuses, and explore California's push to revamp reading education by emphasizing phonics in schools. Plus, other key stories on national developments, tech innovations, and global events. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning, folks. Today, we're diving into the first of two stories on immigration enforcement and its pitfalls. Joining me from the studio is our reporter Ethan, who's been digging into the troubled history of Maricopa County, Arizona, once seen as a model for local police tackling immigration but ending up a cautionary tale of civil rights abuses. Ethan, take us through this.
Thanks, Grace. Maricopa County, under former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, became infamous for its aggressive use of the 287 grams program, which lets local cops act like federal immigration officers by identifying and detaining people during everyday stops. According to a new investigation by ProPublica and Arizona Luminaria, published just today on October 21st, 2025, this setup sparked widespread violations that still echo in today's debates.
Explain that program a bit more for our viewers who might not know the details. What exactly does 287 grams allow, and why was Maricopa called a model?
Sure. The 287 grams program comes from Section 287 grams of the Immigration and Nationality Act, set up back in 1996. It lets U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement sign deals with local agencies so officers can check immigration status during routine patrols, even without a warrant for a crime. Maricopa signed one of the first task force models in 2007, the broadest type, letting deputies make arrests on the spot. Early on, ICE praised it as a model for efficiency, with over 17,000 removal proceedings started in 2009 alone, per ICE data analyzed by ProPublica. It was like a blueprint for deportations nationwide, but that model quickly turned into a monster of mistakes.
A model that modeled disaster, it seems. What kind of abuses happened under Arpaio, and how did they play out in the community?
Arpaio, sheriff from 1993 to 2017, ran high-profile raids on Latino neighborhoods, day labor spots, and workplaces, often stopping people just for looking Latino, like during traffic stops for a broken taillight or even jaywalking. The U.S. Department of Justice's 2011 report, referenced in that ProPublica piece, found egregious racial profiling, with Latino drivers 4 to 9 times more likely to get pulled over. Stories from the Melendres versus Arpaio lawsuit, filed in 2007, tell of folks like Manuel Nieto Jr., targeted purely for their heritage. Internal emails uncovered by the American Civil Liberties Union of Arizona showed deputies using slurs and mocking accents, turning trust into terror.
And the consequences. Did this lead to any big legal smackdowns or changes in the program?
Absolutely. It backfired big time. ICE ended Maricopa's deal in 2009, and the task force model got suspended nationwide in 2012 under Obama. Federal Judge G. Murray Snow ruled in 2013 that there was a pattern of discrimination affecting the county's 1/3 Latino population. Arpaio got convicted of criminal contempt in 2017, later pardoned by Trump, and had to agree to massive reforms like bias training and body cameras. A 2011 DOJ finding even noted immigrants stopped reporting crimes, hurting public safety overall, as if the sheriff was patrolling against community cooperation.
Fast forwarding to now, with Trump's second term reviving these programs, how does Maricopa's story factor into the current push?
It's a stark warning, Grace. ICE now has 1,098 active agreements across 40 states, up 641% since inauguration, including revived task force models via Executive Order 14,159 in January 2025. But Arizona's cautious, with only 9 agencies in, like Pinal County's new task force in August, partly scared off by Maricopa scandals. Current Sheriff Jerry Sheridan won't touch it, bound by the ongoing Melendres injunction, which hit 90% compliance per the latest September 2025 court note. ProPublica's October 16th investigation found 170 U.S. citizens wrongly detained since January, echoing those old errors. Advocates from the National Immigration Law Center warn it's prioritizing spectacle over justice.
No real drop in crime or undocumented folks despite all that effort, right? And the incentives now?
Exactly. Audits like the 2009 Government Accountability Office report and 2010 Department of Homeland Security Inspector General analysis, cited by the American Immigration Council, showed no crime reductions in Maricopa compared to neighbors. Violent crime jumped nearly 70% from 2004 to 2007, per the Goldwater Institute. Now, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act reimburses up to 25% overtime, $7,500 per officer for gear, and bonuses for removal rates, with Florida getting $38 million in September alone, as reported by WTSP and KERA News. But oversight's spotty, with GAO's September 2025 report flagging weak metrics.
Thanks, Ethan, for unpacking this model case of enforcement gone awry. Up next, our second story. Welcome back to our morning broadcast on this October 21st, 2025. As we wrap up with our second story of the day, let's turn to a major win for young readers in California. Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill that's set to sound out a brighter future for literacy education. Joining me now from the studio to unpack this is our education reporter, Chloe. Chloe, what can you tell us about Assembly Bill 1454?
Thanks, Grace. Indeed, on October 9th, just 12 days ago, Governor Newsom put his signature on AB 1454, a game-changer for how California kids learn to read. According to reporting from CalMatters in their October 20th article by K-12 education reporter Carolyn Jones, this law pushes the science of reading, which is an evidence-based approach heavy on phonics, that's sounding out words letter by letter, plus building vocabulary comprehension and those basic skills. It's a shift away from just memorizing sight words, and it's not mandatory but offers incentives like training funds to get schools on board, respecting our state's local control vibe.
Phonics over sight words. That sounds like reading between the lines of old methods. And, Chloe, this comes at a time when reading scores are still recovering from the pandemic. How big a deal is this for California's classrooms?
Absolutely, Grace. It's a phenomenal step, pun intended. As LAist republished from CalMatters on October 20th, this ties into the Golden State Literacy Plan that Newsom champions to tackle those stubborn proficiency gaps. A 2022 survey by the California Reading Coalition, led by Todd Collins, a former Palo Alto school board member, found 80% of 300 districts weren't using phonics-based teaching. On the nation's report card, our fourth graders matched the national average, and in the 2024 to 2025 school year, 49% met or exceeded English language arts standards, a bounce back from COVID lows but still shy of pre-2019 levels of 50 to 55%.
Impressive consensus on the bill, too. Walk us through the key provisions and timelines, especially since some kick in soon.
The bill sailed through unanimously, 78-0 in the Assembly and 38-0 in the Senate, after years of debate. As detailed by Education Week and the Legislative Analyst's Office via legiscan.com, first up is training. By September 1, 2026, about 10.5 months from now, the California Department of Education will list approved programs for transitional kindergarten through 5th grade teachers, funded by $200 million from the June 2025 budget. These cover print concepts, phonological awareness, that's hearing sounds in words, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, background knowledge, and comprehension, all aligned with the state's English language arts framework and dyslexia guidelines. Districts can opt in or out, but by January 1, 2028, The Commission on Teacher Credentialing updates standards for reading specialists and principals to include this science of reading prep.
And materials and screenings, those seem crucial for early catch-up.
Spot on. By January 31, 2027, roughly 15 months away, the State Board of Education adopts new English language arts materials for kindergarten through 8th grade, prioritizing phonics tools like textbooks and flashcards with supports for English learners and students with special needs, even in other languages. Districts picking others must certify alignment. For screenings, building on 2023 Senate Bill 114, starting this fall in the 2025-26 school year, within 45 days of kindergarten through 2nd grade enrollment, they'll use tools like Amira Learning, Amplify's MC-LAS with Diables, Stanford's Roar, or UC San Francisco's Multitudes, available in English and Spanish. Parents can opt out, backed by $40 million. Overall, it's part of a $480 million literacy push, including $1.7 billion in block grants and $500 million for coaches.
There is history here, from opposition to support. What flipped the script?
Earlier pushes like the 2025 AB 2222 by Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio faced pushback from English learner advocates and the California Teachers Association for being too rigid, as covered by the Los Angeles Times and EdPolicy in CA.org. They worried about disadvantaging non-English speakers with English's wonky spelling. Amendments made it optional with multilingual focus, winning CTA backing and groups like Californians Together. Rubio, inspired by her brother's reading struggles, told CalMatters, quote, "It's hard for teachers to see their kids feel defeated and frustrated. Now they'll be equipped to really help their students succeed," end quote.
Evidence of success, like in other districts or states.
Proponents point to gains. In Los Angeles Unified, after adopting science of reading in 2023-24, English language arts rose 5.5 percentage points since 2022 per LAist and LA Times, with spots like Esperanza Elementary seeing first grade proficiency jump from under 50% to 65%. A 2023 Stanford study in EdWeek found third grade scores up 0.14 standard deviations in funded low-performing schools. Nationally, Mississippi boosted fourth grade NAEP scores 10 points from 2013 to 2019 post their law, and Louisiana recovered pandemic losses to climb rankings via Harvard, Stanford, and Brookings.edu.
But not without critiques, especially for diverse kids.
True. Experts in EdWeek and K-12 Dive warn over-focusing on phonics might create word callers who decode but don't comprehend, sidelining vocabulary and culture for English learners, 24% of our students. They push balanced literacy with whole language elements and bilingual supports to leverage home languages.
Looking ahead, Chloe, any hurdles?
Optimism from EdVoice CEO Marshall Tuck, who told CalMatters, quote, "We can celebrate today, but tomorrow it's back to work," end quote. And Collins hopes districts get the message. Challenges include teacher shortages and ensuring equity, as Californians Together notes via csba.org. With monitoring from LA Times and EdWeek, it could close the literacy divide if balanced right.
Thanks, Chloe, for breaking down this reading revolution. Viewers, that's our top stories for this morning. Here are some other headlines. In Paris, a daylight drama at the Louvre has turned the City of Light into the city on alert. French authorities say the brazen robbery of Napoleonic jewels was a highly organized operation carried out in minutes by experienced professionals. Investigators believe the thieves used a basket lift to rise to the Galerie d'Apollon, smashed display cases, and then scootered off with 8 pieces from the French crown jewels, an exit as swift as it was audacious. The museum, closed for a second day Monday, has denied reports that a foreign intelligence firm was tapped to help, insisting French police are fully in charge. France's anti-gang brigade is leading the chase. President Emmanuel Macron called the theft an attack on a heritage that we cherish. as critics cite understaffing and security gaps at the world's most visited museum. Art crime experts warn there's a narrow window before the treasures either disappear into private collections or get broken down, turning a crown into a downer. In California, a political map may redraw the lines and the headlines in coastal Orange County. Governor Gavin Newsom's proposed Proposition 50 congressional maps would shift the district of Democratic Representative Robert Garcia of Long Beach to include Huntington Beach and Newport Beach. That's the same Huntington Beach that banned the LGBTQ+ pride flag from city property, now potentially represented by a progressive, openly gay congressman. Garcia, a Peruvian immigrant and the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, says he'd be proud to represent everyone and would fight to bring federal dollars to local projects. The move signals a high-stakes chess match. Democrats aim to counter Republican gerrymanders nationwide and possibly net 5 more seats from California. Voters will decide the plan in a special election. If it passes, conservative beach towns could find their federal politics riding a very different wave. At UC San Diego, a scholarship once reserved for Black students has been recharted to race-neutral waters. After the Pacific Legal Foundation and students sued in July, citing the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, the university moved the Black Alumni Scholarship to a private foundation, renamed it the Goins Alumni Scholarship Fund, and set criteria centered on community impact in overcoming major challenges. The plaintiffs dropped the suit and are touting the shift as a playbook for challenging similar programs, where public universities outsource race-based aid to private groups. The change arrives amid broader legal headwinds for diversity and affirmative action efforts following recent Supreme Court rulings, turning campus aid into a test case of what's lawful and what's lawful. And in Arizona, a border state about face on federal immigration partnerships. Most law enforcement agencies are steering clear of ICE's 287G program, a stark reversal from the state's earlier embrace. The hangover stems from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, where a 2009 federal court found deputies racially profiled Latinos and violated constitutional rights. Even as a national recruitment push signed up hundreds of new agencies this year, only 4 in Arizona joined, bringing the state's total to 9 out of at least 106 eligible. Police leaders, even in conservative communities, cite legal risks and community trust. A Republican-led bill to mandate cooperation, the Arizona ICE Act, passed the legislature, but met a cold border stop, a veto from Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.